Hi guys, it's Mr. Smith and it's Tuesday, and that means it is time for a science video. So this is where we left off. The last planet we talked about was Neptune. Today's video is going to be about Pluto. No, not that guy. I'm talking about the planet Pluto. So we're going to look at the star chart. We're going to travel to Pluto, and while we're doing it, I'm going to tell you all about Pluto, give you some facts before we delve into it. So go to objects. So Pluto is the 9th planet from the sun most of the time. We're going to talk about and demonstrate that a little bit in Universe Sandbox. So it was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006. The best explanation I can give you for that is because Pluto's orbit is also filled with all sorts of other objects. Well, that was quick. That kind of resemble Pluto, and there are other things that are considered dwarf planets that are about the same size of Pluto. The other reason is because Pluto and its large moon Charon actually orbit around each other. They make up what's called a binary system, which means two things orbit around the same point. So Pluto is not scientifically considered a planet. If you want to keep considering Pluto a planet, I'm fine with that. So Pluto has 5 known moons. And this I thought was interesting. Pluto is 1/3 water. The water is ice, but it is a lot of water. It's 3 times the water in all the Earth's oceans. Pluto is also smaller than Earth's moon. So our moon in the sky, Pluto is 66% the size of Earth's moon. So we're going to demonstrate that later in Universe Sandbox 2. And sometimes when Pluto is a little bit closer to the sun, it does have an atmosphere. So all that being said, we're going to land on Pluto and check it out. Now again, Pluto is so cold. It's like colder than minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. There's no liquid water on Pluto. It is all ice. Kind of looks like ice. See how it looks kind of frozen? It's very, very cold. So there's not much of an atmosphere either. I'm curious if this game actually... Oh, there's the atmosphere. I had the atmosphere turned off. So you can see there's a little bit of a haze to the air with the atmosphere turned on. I had it turned off for some reason. And you can see Pluto is more interesting than it looks from space. Like there's canyons and there's mountains and there's volcanoes and again, they just figured out that there's all that water. So let's look at some info about Pluto. Originally considered the 9th planet, Pluto is now considered a dwarf planet. Pluto is thought to consist of roughly 60% rock and 40% water ice. The surface is covered mostly by nitrogen ice as determined by scientists, with traces of methane and carbon dioxide. Pluto also periodically holds a thin atmosphere, created by the melting of surface ice as it gets closer to the sun. Moons. Pluto has 5 known moons. The largest of these is Charon. We kind of just talked about this. Pluto and Charon sort of orbit each other. It's so large that it and Pluto form a binary system, both orbiting a common center of mass between the two objects. The other 4 moons are small asteroidal bodies, all orbiting beyond Charon from innermost to outermost: Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. So Pluto's orbit is normal for a Kuiper Belt object. Semi-major, that's not important. You don't need to know that. Alright, anyways. Let's check out Pluto's moons. I always love looking at the planet's moons. That's a really good image of Pluto's surface. Anyways, alright. Some of it, I noticed too that they must have better photographs in some parts of Pluto, because if we orbit around it, some parts are blurry and some parts are really, really clear. Anyways, let's check out Charon. Oh goodness, we ended up in another system. Hang on a second. I don't know how we did that. I must have clicked on something. I did that thing where I don't click go to. So now we're in the right system. So now we can go. Here we are. Look, this is where we want it to be. So we're going to check out Charon first. Go to object. So we're traveling to Sharon. It's a long ways. Sorry. Interstellar space travel and all. Alright, so here's Pluto's moon Sharon. It's real bumpy, like sort of like Pluto. So let's zoom out a little bit. You can see Pluto is a little bit bigger than Sharon, but not much. And they're fairly close. So let's land on object and see what it's like on the surface. Ooh, it was a little cut up there for a second. Okay, so not very interesting, I know. There's not a lot of stuff here. So that's Sharon. Let's see what the info is. The largest satellite of the dwarf planet Pluto, sometimes considered as a smaller component of a binary Pluto-Sharon system. It has large canyon and ridges on its surprisingly young surface and a large dark area in its north pole, informally dubbed Mordor. Let's try and find that unusually dark area. My dog's making a weird noise, I'm sorry. Sorry you had to hear that. I don't know, maybe that's it? It's hard to know. That might be it. It's hard to know which way we're facing in this game sometimes. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's this area right here. Let's land here. We're gonna investigate. So it's darker, but it doesn't really seem to indicate why. All right, let's look at another moon. So next we're going to look at Styx, the second closest moon. Come on, let's go. Here we are. So again, looks like an asteroid. Not very exciting. Kind of cool how you can see Pluto and Sharon from here, though. Alright, let's look at the star chart. I believe the next one is Kerberos. Oh no, the next one is Nix. I was wrong. Go to object. So this tells you the whole fact that there's a whole system around Pluto. Tells you that even small objects in space have a field of gravity that's pretty strong. Because all of these are still kind of stuck to orbiting around Pluto. Even though they're so far out. And that made sense with like Jupiter, because Jupiter's huge. Pluto's not that big, but it still has a pretty good force of gravity. So anyways, this is Nix. Looks a lot like the other one did. Okay. Come on. You can do it. Now we're going to go to Kerberos. Go to object. This is really far out. That's not even the distance between Kerberos and Pluto. That's Kerberos from another moon. So that tells you how far Pluto is. We can't see Pluto. Pluto's right there. It's pretty far though. So this is Kerberos. And last one, I'm going to visit one more before we go have some fun in Universe Sandbox. Sorry, check out my recording, make sure I didn't mess anything up, because I did that once already. And now here we go to Hydra, the last of Pluto's moons. Of course it's on the other side of Pluto, it's not cooperating with us. And there it is. It's just another weird looking rock. They kind of all look very similar. So, anyways, that is Pluto and its moons. So what we're going to do now is go have some fun in Universe Sandbox and talk about Pluto's size and how it's smaller than our moon. So we'll be right back, guys. Alright, guys, here we are in Universe Sandbox, and we'll just do a little review. So we've got Mercury, we've got Venus, we've got Earth, we've got Mars. Those are the inner planets. Those are the ones closest to the sun. So then we can go out a little bit, and then we have the gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn. We scroll out a little bit. This here, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about this later in another video, but this is the asteroid belt, and it's similar to where Pluto is. It's called the Kuiper Belt. And then as we go out farther, we have Uranus and Neptune. Those are the ice giants. Not quite as big as Saturn and Pluto, but pretty big. And then last but not least, we have poor little Pluto all the way out here. And you can see if I move this the right way, you can kind of see that there are times when Pluto's orbit comes inside Neptune's orbit. There are times when Pluto is actually closer than Neptune. We talked about where Pluto's has sort of an atmosphere when it gets closer to the sun. So the way it orbits and goes really far out and then comes a little bit closer. And actually Neptune, when Pluto's over here, Neptune is actually farther away than Pluto. So, and then this out here, you can see there's all these other things. This is called the Kuiper Belt. This is one of the reasons Pluto's not considered a planet anymore. Because really, if we called Pluto a planet, we'd call these other things planets too. And then we'd have like 20 planets, and it's too many planets. So we're going to open a new simulation, and I'm going to show you that Pluto actually is smaller than our moon. So how can I do that? I could show you. So we actually have to go to Minor to find Pluto, because Pluto isn't a planet. We learned that. It's sad. I know. I'm sad for Pluto too. And then we go to the moons section, and you can see Pluto is quite a bit smaller than the moon. The moon actually would cover up Pluto if I put it there. Not that I'm going to put it there, but... And then it's interesting what happens when I actually place the moon here. Let's pause it. So I'm going to place the moon here so you can see that it's bigger than Pluto. And then I'm going to unpause it. I'm going to slow it down a little bit though. So we can actually, because otherwise it'll just go a million miles a minute. We won't see anything. So I put them too close, but you can see Pluto's actually going to be destroyed, and the moon is going to be like the big bully in this situation. And I don't know what all those lines are. I don't know what I did. But anyways, so that's something's going on there. So that's a little demonstration of how the moon is bigger than Pluto. I'm actually gonna try that again, and I'm gonna see if I can get the moon to orbit around Pluto. If we put it out a little bit farther. Pluto. Why does that go away? I hate that. Alright. Moon. Alright, let's put it out a little farther and see what happens. I can already tell you the moon is not going to orbit because we don't see the nice little circle around. But let's see what happens. So Pluto's starting to move towards the moon. That's because the bigger object has more gravity. That's not always the case necessarily, but it is something that goes into how much gravity an object in space has. And the moon just swallowed up poor little Pluto. Now, what I'd like to do now is switch it and see if we can get Pluto to orbit around the moon. I know, you're probably bored with these already, but I like doing this kind of stuff, so we're going to do it. Some of you probably enjoy it. So let's put the moon in the middle this time. Let's pause our simulation. Is it paused? Oh, it was paused. Okay. Slow it down. Okay. And then let's put Pluto. Now, we can tell it's going to work because it has that ring where it's going around. Alright, so let's make sure we're not... Well, we're not paused. We're just moving really slow. So let's speed it up a little bit so we can see what happens. So we actually are able to get Pluto. Now the moon's moving a little bit. So actually this demonstrates a little bit what Pluto and Charon do. They're going to kind of orbit around each other. Well, it's not quite like this because they're... Where are you going? They're moving away from the camera. Okay, now we've got it fixed on Pluto. So this didn't work out super well because one of them's not really that much smaller than the other. Pluto is a little bit smaller, but the moon's not going to stay in the middle because there's no big thing. Usually the sun is in the middle, and even that is moving all the time. Like, everything in space is in motion. That's a hard thing to understand, but anyways, this actually is working out really well. It's kind of fascinating. I don't know how long you're willing to watch this. I could watch this forever. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you learned something about Pluto. Sorry, I'm probably going to agree with them that Pluto's not a planet, although it's kind of weird to me. But anyways, we're going to talk about the Kuiper Belt and the asteroid belt and all sorts of other things before we're done talking about space. So have a good day, guys. Bye.